Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into the world of mindfulness today. We're going to be looking at some super interesting work by Dr. Dan Siegel,
Ah, Dr. Siegel.
who's like a rock star in the field of interpersonal neurobiology.
I love his work.
I know, right? It's pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's like the intersection of our minds and relationships and how
Mhm.
they actually shape our brains.
Yeah. So we're going to try to unpack how mindfulness can actually rewire our brains.
Okay.
But before we jump into all that,
Hmm.
Dr. Siegel, he makes a big deal about the difference between just being aware of something
Uh-huh.
and being mindfully aware.
Right, right.
And he has this great example
Okay.
where he asks you to think about your right foot.
Okay, I'm thinking about it.
Right? You're just sitting
Right.
there and you become aware of it.
Yeah.
But are you just noticing it or are you like judging it?
Right, like are my toes weird?
Exactly. Is it too big?
Too small.
And that's where mindfulness comes in, right?
So mindfulness is not about analyzing. It's about just being with what is.
Yeah, observing without all that mental chatter,
Right, just accepting whatever comes up.
whether it's a thought or feeling, a sensation.
Yeah.
But then there's this other piece too,
Okay.
the power of intention.
Yes. It's not just noticing things.
Mhm.
It's about directing your attention on purpose.
It's like actively choosing to be present.
Exactly. And Dr. Siegel suggests that the more you practice this,
Yeah.
the more it becomes who you are, even when you're not meditating.
So it's not just a temporary state.
Right.
It's like you're building a mindful muscle.
Exactly. He calls it moving from state to trait.
I like that.
Yeah. So at first, mindfulness might be something you experience during meditation.
Okay.
But with practice, it becomes an actual trait.
A part of your personality.
Exactly. You just naturally approach life with more presence and awareness.
That's so cool.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
This shift from state to trait. It's not just an idea. It's linked to actual changes in your brain structure.
Whoa, hold on. Really?
Yeah, it's neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change throughout life.
I've heard of that.
So when you're practicing mindful awareness,
Uh-huh.
you're activating specific pathways in your brain.
So like when I'm focusing on my breath during meditation,
Yes. You're firing up circuits, especially in the prefrontal cortex.
that's the decision-making part, right?
And attention, yeah. And the amygdala, which deals with emotions.
So the more we activate those pathways,
The stronger they become, like exercising a muscle.
it's literally rewiring our brains for mindfulness.
Exactly.
So what does that actually look like in our lives?
Well, studies have shown that mindfulness can lead to a bunch of benefits, like better emotional regulation, more focus,
Wow.
improved memory, less stress and anxiety,
Wait, so you're saying just paying attention can change my brain?
and improve your life.
Wow.
That's what the research suggests.
But Dr. Siegel takes it even further.
Right.
He says mindfulness isn't just an individual thing.
He says it's a relational process.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. How is mindfulness relational?
He suggests that as you cultivate this awareness of your own inner world, it starts to impact how you interact with the world around you.
This with other people. It's like a
Mhm.
ripple effect, right?
Exactly. Transforming not only our own minds, but also the way we connect with others.
Okay, this is fascinating, but I think we need to shift gears for a sec
Sure.
and look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
Dr. Siegel points out that mindfulness isn't new.
Right.
These practices have been around forever,
For centuries in different cultures and traditions.
like meditation in Eastern traditions.
Yeah, it seems like science is finally catching up.
Validating ancient wisdom.
Exactly. And Dr. Siegel emphasizes that the research being done now, with objective data, controlled studies, peer review,
The real deal.
is providing solid evidence to back up what these traditions have said all along.
That's huge. It's not just anecdotal anymore.
Right, we have scientific proof that mindfulness works.
This is blowing my mind.
And the implications are massive. If we can change our brains through mindfulness.
What other possibilities are out there?
Exactly. That's a great question.
We're going to need a whole other episode to explore that.
And we will.
But for now, we're going to take a quick break.
Sounds good?
It's really amazing to think about mindfulness like that,
Yeah.
just like rewiring our brains.
Yeah, and it all starts with something so simple.
Right.
Just paying
I
attention.
know it seems so basic.
Right, but like we've been talking about, the effects are huge.
Huge. Yeah.
It's not about reaching some like mystical state or anything.
Yeah.
It's about learning to navigate life, with more awareness.
And like less stress.
Exactly, more resilience and compassion.
Yeah. For someone who's totally new to this, it can seem a bit intimidating.
Yeah, maybe even a little out there.
So what would you say to someone just starting out?
I'd say the best thing about mindfulness is that it's for everyone.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a meditation master.
Or a brain scientist.
Exactly. Just a few minutes every day can make a difference.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be this big, overwhelming thing.
So where do you even begin? Are there certain techniques that are better?
Well, there are tons of resources out there now.
I know. Apps, guided meditations, online courses.
But even something as simple as focusing on your breath for a few minutes can be really powerful.
It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly, and making it a part of your routine.
Yeah, just like little pockets of mindfulness throughout the day.
Exactly. And, you can bring mindfulness into any part of your life, really.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Have you ever tried mindful walking?
I've heard of that.
Or mindful eating?
Okay, yeah.
You can even do mindful dishwashing.
Mindful dishwashing.
Yeah.
I'm usually just totally zoned out when I'm doing the dishes.
Right. That's what most of us do. We're on autopilot.
Uh-huh.
But with mindfulness, you can actually bring your full attention to it.
Okay.
Instead of just scrubbing away mindlessly,
Mm-hmm.
you can feel the warm water on your hands.
Yeah.
Smell the soap. Hear the dishes clinking.
So it's like turning everyday chores into mindfulness practice.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
finding those moments of presence in the ordinary stuff.
I love that idea. We've been talking about how mindfulness can actually rewire our brains.
Yeah.
And how those changes can have all these amazing benefits for us.
Yeah.
But I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier
Okay.
about mindfulness being a relational process.
Right, right.
How does cultivating this inner awareness actually affect how we relate to other people?
Well, Dr. Siegel talks about how as you become more aware of your own inner world, you naturally become more aware of the inner worlds of others.
Right.
You start to pick up on their cues and understand their perspective better.
That makes sense.
And you respond with more empathy and compassion.
So it's not just about changing our own brains.
It's about changing our relationships, too.
Wow.
That's where the real power of mindfulness lies.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is. We've covered a lot today.
So much.
But I think we've laid a good foundation for understanding mindfulness
And its potential.
and how it actually works.
Yeah, and I bet our listeners are ready to learn even more.
Well, I think the best way to really get it is to experience it firsthand.
Yeah.
So to everyone listening, I encourage you to try it out.
Explore mindfulness for yourself.
It's a journey of
I
self-discovery.
love that. A journey of self-discovery.
But, we've talked about the potential benefits,
But-
but is there actual evidence that these practices can change the brain?
Yeah. Is it all just theoretical?
No, not at all. There's been so much research on mindfulness in recent years,
Go ahead.
and the findings are amazing. Studies show that mindfulness can increase gray matter in the brain.
Wait, hold on. Increased gray matter. What does that even mean?
Think of gray matter as the brain's processing power.
Okay.
It's where all the neurons are.
The brain cells.
Yeah, and mindfulness practices can actually make those areas denser.
So it's like giving your brain a workout.
Exactly, making it stronger and more resilient.
Is this all based on real science?
Oh yeah, scientists use brain imaging techniques like MRI to actually see these changes.
Wow.
They're literally watching mindfulness reshape the brain.
That's mind-blowing. It's
Yeah.
like we can upgrade our own mental hardware.
And if we can change our brain structure through mindfulness...
What else can we do?
Exactly. Imagine the possibilities for healing and growth.
This is so hopeful.
It really is. It
Uh,
means we have the power to take control of our own well-being.
So mindfulness is more than just a practice.
It's a way of life.
It's about being present
Aware.
and connected to ourselves and the world around us.
It's not about escaping reality
It's about engaging with it in a more skillful way.
in a more compassionate way.
And as we cultivate those qualities in ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
they naturally extend outwards
To others.
to our community.
To the world.
It all comes back to that ripple effect.
It starts with us, but it has the potential to change everything.
That's a beautiful thought. A more mindful world,
More compassionate.
more interconnected
And it all starts with each of us taking that first step.
towards a more mindful way of being.
If you're feeling inspired, there are so many great resources out there.
Apps like Headspace and Calm,
Websites with tons of information.
local mindfulness centers.
Find what works for you and be patient with the process.
It's a practice, not a destination.
Show up each day with an open mind and see what happens.
Yeah, who knows? You might discover a whole new way of experiencing the world.
One mindful moment at a time.
One thing that really struck me about Dr. Siegel's work is he doesn't just talk about mindfulness like it's some airy-fairy concept.
No.
He brings in the science, the hard data,
Yeah, he's really bridging that gap between ancient wisdom and modern science.
showing us that these practices, They actually have real effects on us,
Measurable effects.
not just in our minds, but in our bodies too.
And he talks about so many different types of research.
I know. Brain imaging, physiological measurements, even genetic analysis.
It's really impressive.
Like he's coming at it from every angle to really show that it's legit.
And the research is finding that mindfulness can help with so many things.
Yeah.
Stress, anxiety, chronic pain.
Even addiction.
It's not just about feeling a little bit calmer. It's about actual health benefits.
Mental and physical.
And the more we learn, the more we realize just how powerful the mind really is.
It's like we have this incredible ability to heal and transform ourselves.
Exactly. We're not just stuck with whatever hand we're dealt.
Mindfulness gives us a way to actively shape our own well-being.
It's not just a practice. It's a way of being.
Yeah, it's about being present,
Aware.
connected to ourselves and the world around us.
It's not about escaping reality.
It's about engaging with it in a more skillful way.
With more compassion.
And as we cultivate those qualities within ourselves,
They naturally start to ripple outwards.
to our relationships,
Our community.
even the planet,
It's interconnectedness.
creating a more mindful world,
A more compassionate
a
world.
more interconnected world,
It all starts with us.
with each of us making that choice to be more mindful.
It's not just for monks or yogis.
It's for everyone.
And the benefits are huge.
If you're feeling inspired to explore mindfulness further,
There are so many great resources out there.
apps like Headspace and Calm,
Websites with tons of information.
you can even find local mindfulness centers.
The key is to find what works for you.
And be patient with yourself.
It's a practice, not a destination.
Just show up every day with an open mind and see what you discover.
You might be amazed by what you find.
One mindful moment at a time.
That's what makes these deep dives so great.
Yeah,
Exploring these ideas that have the potential to change the world.
I couldn't agree more. And on that note, we're going to wrap things up for today.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into mindfulness.
We'll see you next time.